All right, people of the internet, here we go. So, I don't know what happened today. I don't know. It was really, I thought, just let's reboot to be sure, to be extra sure that nothing goes wrong. And that was probably, I don't know if it was a good or a bad idea. So there were two things that really became an issue for me today. So let me first of all set up this projector so I can look at myself. Okay, so the first thing that didn't work was this little transmitter. So it's the transmitter that I use to connect my microphone so I don't have to be cabled in, and it just doesn't turn on. So I'm not sure what was the problem there. And it's a really new one, right? So it's, I think I got it maybe a couple of months ago. So probably will have to return it. And then when I decided to boot the machine, it came back on, and then only half of the app started up, and I was like, what's going wrong? And 1Password didn't respond, Finder didn't respond, so I killed Finder. Nothing happened. I wasn't able to open Raycast, and because I don't have Spotlight on anymore, I wasn't even able to get into the terminal, right? So, and it turned out that the culprit was this little thing here. So I don't know if you can see it. It's a little, I don't want to throw shade at them, but it's happened a couple of times now. So it's a little pluggable SSD card. And once I yanked it out, everything came back on. So for some reason, Finder had a hiccup, I think. So anyways, so let's see. Let's double check that everything is working fine. So in my YouTube window here, I've got it open. It says 4 people watching now. That's great. I see Joseph sending a comment. So great. So at least you can see me. That's good to know. And it's great to have you on the stream, Joseph. It's for those, I don't know, like probably everybody in the community knows who Joseph is. He is I think he's the authoritative source for Combine, or at least he wrote the authoritative document, book, or website that probably everybody referred to. So it's amazing to have you on the stream today. I feel flattered. So let's Well, it was a great book. So I benefited greatly from it. So and that's the thing, right? So even if you think that what you do as a content creator or as a people giving back to the community is just a tiny little thing, there are probably a lot of people who benefit from what you produce. And even if it's something that you've done a bunch of times before and you think, oh, there are like a gazillion other people creating content and they're doing a better job. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but there's probably people out there who will read your stuff, who will watch your videos, who will listen to your podcast or consume your content, and they will be touched or they will understand because you talk their language. So it's always good. I want to encourage everybody to, consider producing content. Go to a conference, go to a meetup. So I think we are about ready, probably as ready as we can be. And now let's go to the live window. Here we are. So, I mean, it was a little bit of a gamble to even, install macOS 26 on this machine and install Xcode 26 on this machine. I didn't install iOS 26 on my phone though, so I'm not bold enough to do that. Says the person who installs macOS 26 on his work machine. So, what I thought we would do today, and I need to close all those tabs here, is take a look at some of the new stuff in all the so-and-so 26 things. And the first thing that I wanted to do is look into something that I've shared over the weekend, and this is also something that is quite interesting, because if we take a look at how it should work, so technically you should go into your Xcode settings, and then you should be able to say, well, let's turn on, and maybe let's do this. So I'm going to turn off this provide. Look at that. So Xcode doesn't like if we make changes to the coding intelligence stuff. So okay, let's try this again. Okay, let's go to settings. Is it turned off? This one is turned off. I'm guessing if I turn this one off, it will also crash. Yes, it does. So let's get this back. I mean, it's beta, right? So we shouldn't expect this to work flawlessly all of the time. Okay, so let's turn this one off as well. So this is fine, apparently. Okay. So the first thing that you have to know, if you want to use coding intelligence in Xcode 26, you need to have macOS 26 installed, and you need to turn on Apple Intelligence in your macOS settings, because otherwise it won't work. You can install Xcode 26 on a prior version of macOS, and it will just look like any previous version of Xcode. So it will look like Xcode 16, right? So in order to get this, it's not a surprise that we don't get the new look and feel, the liquid glass look and feel. But it was a bit of a surprise for me to not be able to see the coding intelligence. But so be it. So you have to have macOS 26 installed, and you have to have Apple Intelligence turned on. And then I thought, you should be able to go in and then just say, well, let's turn on ChatGPT. So go here, turn on ChatGPT, and now it says, well, under limit, because I'm not signed in, but there is no way how it can, it says no models available. And this part here really, is also a bug. So if I quit Xcode and just open it again, we will see. Here we go. So hopefully this will reset. No, yeah, but this is also something that they mentioned in the release notes. So I think this is a ±1 error. I was just, really surprised that other people were able to use it, but because I wasn't able to use the ChatGPT integration, I thought, okay, why not use Gemini? Besides, because I work at Google, I get access to the model on essentially for free, which is really nice. So, and now once this is turned on, I should be able to use it. But the thing is, so there are two things. One thing is this additional support for other models. It kind of expects that the models use an OpenAI compatible API, and there is an OpenAI compatible API for Gemini, but it has a kind of different URL scheme than the one that Xcode expects. So, and that is why we'll have to use a little trick, and that is we need to use, we basically need to modify the request. And let me quickly pull up the article so you can see how this is done. So here is the blog post I wrote over the weekend, and Simon explained how to use Claude in Xcode, which works fine, but I wanted to use Gemini. And you need to make a little change. So Carlo has an article. I hope I link to the article. Here it is. So here he explains how to do it. So basically, the problem, and he also explains what the problem is. So the problem is that the path is constructed slightly different than how it's expected. And this is why we need to rewrite this. Also, I just noticed that I look quite distorted. What's this? It's always something. Let me see if I can quickly fix that. Okay, let's see. How about this? Nope. Yeah, this is too large. Yeah, this is better, I think. Okay. All right. So back to the problem. So we need to rewrite the URL. And here's how it's done. So first of all, we need to set this up in Xcode using this URL. We need to provide our API key. We need to set the API header. And then we will use Proxyman to rewrite the request. And it's really just a little thing, right? So we need to replace the v1 or, exactly. We need to replace the v1 for v1 beta / open API. That's it. So, but the cool thing is that this also gives us insight into what Xcode does. So we can go in, and first of all, we can go here and see, okay, so it is, come on, no? All right, so, here we go. So first of all, it makes a query to detect which models are available. So we should be able to see this here. And, interesting. Well, for this request, so there is a new feature in one of the latest versions, or in the latest version of Proxyman, which supports OpenAI rendering. And I'll show you why this is so cool in a moment. So, but first of all, let's look at this. So Xcode makes a request to the model to say, which models do you support? And this is a long list for Gemini here. And then we can pick the model that we want in Xcode. So that is what I did. What I did here. And now I can go in and choose Gemini 2.5 Flash and say, can you please explain what this app does? And it's important to note that I'm in this file here, semantic QA intent. So this is just one of the files in this application. So let's go here, send the request. And then in the background, you probably saw that something happened in Proxyman. And here we go. So here's our request. And we can see that it already completed. So let's first look at the response in Xcode. So it says, this file defines an app intent that allows users to interact with the Sophia application's knowledge base using series shortcuts, and it goes on to explain more. So let's go back into Proxyman and look at this request. And first of all, let's look at the body of the request. So you can see that the request starts with a message, and that message is a typical prompt that says you are a coding assistant with access to tools, and this is the system instruction. So this is the same for all of the requests. It's always the same. And in my blog post, I disseminated this in detail and explained the individual parts of this system instructions. And it ends with, you are currently in Xcode with the project open. Try not to disclose that you've seen the context above, but use it freely to engage in the conversation. And then the next part of the message is, the user is currently inside this file, and then it provides the name of the file and the contents. And this is, a verbatim copy of the entire file. And then it ends with, the user has no code selected. The user has asked, can you please explain, and it even includes my typo, what this app does. And that's it. It's also interesting to note that this tools parameter is empty. And here we see the model that we were using. So this is now sent to the model. And also we've got the stream parameter set to true. And that means that the model can stream the response. So now in the response, here's the header, and we can take a look at the body. And the interesting part of the body is that it is kind of chunked. And you can see that we have data, and then we've got a piece of what looks like JSON. And then there is another data which contains another piece of JSON, and you can see that this basically is, chunks of the response. And this is server sent events, and this is why we have this part here in Proxyman, which allows us to take a better look at this at the structure. And with the latest release, there is this OpenAI tab, which now takes the SSE response and basically smushes it together so that we can read it more easily. And this is the response that we get from the model, kind of as a, that's the final response essentially. And you can see that this is exactly what we can also see in the Xcode window. Nice. So let's do something else. And now, instead of using Gemini 2.5 Flash, let's use Pro, because that will provide more details about the application, or hopefully, depending on what it thinks it needs to know, it'll be more detailed. So let's try the same. Please tell me what this application does. And so this takes slightly longer because the model is more complex. It thinks more deeply. So the request is exactly the same. And now you can see that in this response, so the response is slightly differently, and it explains this in slightly different words, but at the end it also has this search thing here, which if you'd render this as Markdown, it would be a heading. And to understand what this means is, let's take a look at the prompt. So if we look at the system instructions, we can see that in here we have this section that says, use the following search syntax at the end of your response, each on a separate line. Search type name 1, search a phrase or set of keywords to search for, and so on. So that means if the model realizes, well, I could give a better answer by knowing more about the project, then it will end the response by saying, hey, can you please tell me more about, a file or something in the project? And if we look at this, the file that we're currently looking at and that we are in, you will see that somewhere it talks about the semantic QA service. So this is here. And that is exactly what the model requested to get access to. So I saw a lot of people wondering, so what kind of access do those models get to my code base? And this is not just how Xcode works, but how Cursor works and how Xcode works and how Firebase Studio works. All of those code editing agents basically work the same way. They look at your code and the IDE gives them an initial chunk of code. And in this case here, it is just literally the file that we're currently sitting in, and sends it to the model. And then the model can decide, oh, I want to get more details about what is going on, and it will request more details. So to answer the question, what does the model see? All it saw so far are 2 files from my project. So it saw this file, the semantic QA intent file, and it saw the semantic QA service, I think, right? Because let's take a look at what Xcode did. So the result was, please search for semantic QA service. And that is a signal to Xcode to use the search tool and then search for this type. So it searched for the semantic QA service, and I think that, and it returned all of those files here. So the semantic QA service, Sophia app, semantic QA chat, artifact list screen, and authentication screen, because I think this file is mentioned on all of those files. So basically it went through the code base, it said, find all the occurrences for this thing, and then let's see, we can try this for ourselves, right? So let's go and say we want to search. Yeah, there you go. So it's mentioned in Sophia app. It's which other files did it request? Artifact list screen. That's requested because it is mentioned in the Sophia app, and same goes for authentication screen. So it goes a little bit deeper there to get more detail. And if we look at the request, we will be able to see it. So this is the second request that Xcode sent to the model. And if we collapse this system instruction part, then we see that here is the second message that it sent. And again, and this is an interesting part. So whenever you implement a chat UI that where you want to implement a chat between the user and the model, with every request, you will have to send the entire conversation. So think about that. The user says something to the model like, hello, and the model responds with, hello, how are you? What can I do for you today? And then the user says, I don't know, like, what's the weather outside? And then the model says, I am a large language model, I can't help with that. So that is the conversation. But for each turn, you send the entire history of the conversation. And that is how the model can know about what's been going on, because essentially, this is a stateless conversation, right? So the model doesn't know who you are when you send a request. It only knows who you are because everything is contained in that, in the history. So that is why it works. Okay, so looking at the chat, I was kind of expecting something happening like that. So Joseph mentioned that there is a beta 2 update. For macOS. Well, thank God it was not for Xcode, because I wouldn't have installed Xcode. I did check today if there is an update. When I last checked, there was no update. And what else? Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. It seemed to work for other people. I have no idea. So there might be many reasons why it doesn't work for me. Maybe it's because I'm in Germany. Maybe it's because I'm behind some sort of firewall. Maybe, I don't know. There are many reasons. I honestly don't know. So coming back to the conversation about the history. So here we can see that the model, and you can, if we look at the roles, right? So we can see that the first role here is system, because that is the system abstraction. The next role is user, and that is interesting because the prompt here says the user is currently inside this file, and then it provides the entire context of our file, and that is the initial file that we were in. And then it says the user has asked, right? So even though the prompt is augmented on your behalf, it is still being sent as user, right? Even though it's Xcode that is sending the request. So, and this here assistant, that is the answer that we got from the from the model the first time around. So again, this is now part of the history. And then now Xcode sends all the additional files, right? So it says the user has no code selected. Your search results are provided below. And here we go. So this is semantic QA service.swift, and then there is lots of code, and then there's probably another file somewhere that it's pretty difficult to read for me now. Here is the authentication screen, for example, and so on, right? Okay. So this is what we sent to the model. Let's look at what we got. So the answer is, thanks for providing those files. I now have a much clearer understanding of the application, and then it provides a more detailed explanation of what the application does. For example, it says it manages content, it has an AI-powered chat, it has semantic search, it has system integration because we have the app intent, and it has support for user accounts. So let's see what it says about the app. In short, Sophia is an intelligent read-it-later service. You save content to it, and it provides an AI-powered chat interface for you to find information and get answers from your personal collection of documents. And I think that is a pretty good assessment of what the application does, even though the model only saw a tiny chunk of what the application does in general. So, not bad. Okay, so that is one thing that I wanted to share with you, and then let's do something. One final thing here, and let's turn on. I hope it doesn't crash. Let's turn on Anthropic. Okay, it did work. Okay. And now I can let's use Claude 3.7 Sonnet, and let's ask the same question. Please explain what this app does. So, and because Proxyman is still sitting in the background, we'll be able to see the requests in here as well. So, and again, it does a multi-turn conversation here. Okay, and something did not go to plan because this request was aborted for some reason. So let's try this again. Copy the prompt, create a new one, paste it in here, try again. Too many requests. Well, okay. Okay, so the interesting thing is, if we look at the request in Proxyman, it looks slightly different, right? So for example, it says, it is currently Monday, June 23rd, 2025. This is not something that Xcode sends to the other model I set up. I don't know why. And then, so, you know, that's kind of okay. But now the interesting thing is, now it provides this array of tools, right? So for example, there seems to be a tool that's called String Replace Editor. So that seems to be a tool that allows the model to replace text inside the editor. Then there is invalid function, a disabled tool. I don't know, why didn't they filter it out? Then there is query search, and this is the tool for searching. Query the project for contextual information by keyword searching for additional files. You can do this up to 3 per message the user sends you. So that is also quite interesting, because let's imagine that you have a very large project code base, and you start somewhere, and probably if you search long enough, all of the files in your project are somehow connected, right? So you start at one point, and then you walk your way through it, and then you can walk in circles at one point, right? And so by saying, you know, only do this 3 times, it limits the number of requests that Xcode is sending to the model, and prevents it from running in circles, essentially. However, the user sees every search you perform, so avoid making noisy or redundant requests when possible, and make sure you use your context window wisely. Nice. Okay, so what else? The user is currently inside this file, so I think this is the same as for the Gemini request. And then, yeah, so this is the same. So I think the only difference here is that Xcode sends details about which tools to use. And that is, I think that's quite interesting. Okay, so enough about this integration. Let's see, maybe we'll use this later on. But another thing that I did want to try out was what happens if I just run the application on an Xcode, on an iPhone simulator. Will it just receive the new glass look and feel? Let's see. So here, so I can see my simulator. Here we go. Let's put it here. Okay. So I haven't tried liquid glass on a device, and oh, okay. All right. So I was about to say, well, you know, if you've tried it on device, let me know what you think. So, and while you're doing that, let me try to figure out what is going on here. Library not loaded. Lib Swift web. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, let's see if we can fix this. Okay. So let's try to cheat my way out of this by setting the compile level, the deployment level to 26. So we're still building. No crash so far. Nice. Okay. So the problem is, and I've noticed this before in some higher versions of Xcode, of iOS, that the WebView that we're using, and I think I'm still using Daniel Sadie's WebView component, is no longer part of the operating system, or there's a change, and so this is why it crashes. But this is also something I wanted to change anyways, because in iOS 26 we've got a WebView, and I wanted to use the native WebView instead of the wrapped one. So that's something that we can definitely also look into. Okay, so, and I also saw that it was trying to connect to the emulator. So we'll have to start the emulator. So let me do that. Live stream. Go to the functions. So what do we need? I think we need emulator genkit. That's what we need. npm run. Let's see if this works. Looking good so far. Those of you who've been watching this series for a longer time know that at one point I've been having issues with starting the emulator because I've been using the Logitech mouse driver. So a while ago I uninstalled it, and then I found out that because I use this really nice mouse and it has this wheel on the side, and it turns out you apparently need to use the Logitech driver in order to control the direction of scrolling, and so I ended up reinstalling it because I like to scroll to the right when I want to scroll to the right. Okay, so we've got the emulator running, so we should probably restart the application to connect it to the emulator, and then let's see how well this works. All right, here we go. Nice. Okay. Let's see if this works. It does. Okay. Okay, so, and as you can see, so I didn't make any change. So this is literally the same code base as before. And so even without making any changes, I get this liquid glass effect, which looks nice enough, but you might also notice that there are a couple of things. So for example, the buttons on the sheets don't look as nice as the ones on Apple's built-in applications. So let me quickly see if we can go into the Reminders app. So if we go here and add a new item, you'll see that they use an X mark and a check mark. That looks a lot nicer, I think, than using text. So that is probably something that we should change. And then, I mean, the search also is something that we'll probably have to take a look at. At the moment, there is no search yet, But if we implement searchable, that is probably something that we'll have to look into. Yep, nice. Okay, so I think one thing that we can try while we're here is go into this add artifact screen. And make this look nicer. Add artifact dialog. So here's our body. Here's our lists, and somewhere we should have our tool button. Toolbar item, button cancel. And we want to use system image. And we want an action. So I guess if we, you know what, like, so let's try something. So one thing, I think if we provide the localizable label and the system image, we will get both. So let's try this. This is obviously not what we want. So that should be an X. Hello, can we get an X? No? Okay, X dot. Where is it? Here we go. X dot circle. And then we've got our action. Dismiss. Hello? Oh. Oh no, so all my key bindings are broken. All right. Okay, let's try this. So, one thing is, let's try this. And then the other thing, let's try asking Xcode to fix this for us, right? Because we've got wipe coding now. So let's first see if what I thought actually happens. Oh, okay. So apparently we don't get the text, which is nice because we just want the icon. Aha. Oh, okay. Of course, because now there is no X X symbol without anything, right? So we've got x.circle.fill, we've got x.circle, x.square. You know what would be really nice? If you could say, which category does this belong to? Does anybody know if there is a way to do that? Right? I mean, we can go into the categories here. But if we want to find out which category is this part of, there is no way, right? At least I can't see it. Okay, so let's try copy name. Let's try this. Oh yeah. Streaming consumes your CPU. Here we go. This is not exactly what I was thinking about. I really wonder how they do it. They use custom symbols there. Okay, so let's try to ask Xcode to do it. So I'm gonna highlight this part of the code, and let's see how we can invoke code intelligence. Okay, so I can invoke coding intelligence by going into the code assist window and then pressing on this thing here. Okay, we're still using Claude Sonnet, that's fine. Okay, hello? I can't type it through the window. No. Oh, come on. Okay, let's use a different model. Just see if it works now. Also, welcome to the stream flow. Okay, this doesn't work. I don't know. Let's try differently. So instead of using this window here, which used to work yesterday, but who knows what's going on today, it doesn't work today. So let's use the chat here, and then hopefully it will say the user has selected this code. Please help me create a nice X mark on this cancel button. It should use the same liquid glass look and feel as Apple's own apps on iOS 26. I'm being overly prescriptive here. Personally, I think the prompt should contain this information, probably, but I seem to recall it doesn't. Okay, on iOS 26, for example, the Reminders app has a nice large X button. And I mean, we could take a screenshot and then upload the screenshot, and maybe that's something that we'll try. Okay, so what are people talking about? Just use SF menu bar. All right. Whoop. What? All right. Ooh. So that's a lot of change here. So first of all, we use the X mark. Interesting. So is that the right one? X mark. It is. How could I possibly not know this? It is so obvious, right? Okay. But then we do a lot of stuff here to make it look larger, and probably not all of that is required. Let's give it a try. And I think we'll probably get away with just using the X mark. And while we're waiting for it, what I did want to show is So I think in Raycast you can also search for SF symbols. Yeah, you can. So no need for a menu bar application there, Flow. But, you know, kudos for supporting the community. I appreciate that. Okay, whoa, yeah, so, and let's look at this in dark mode. So this is not at all what we want because this looks rubbish. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to reject this. What? Hello? Did you see that? So that might also be a bug. It should have reverted the change. Okay. Let's do this manually, and then button, system, button. You know, sometimes all of this breaks down, and I should probably restart Xcode. And I also need to update my system image. Here we go. Well, no. X mark. Okay. Nope. You don't like me. System expected system image. Yeah. All right. Let's wait. All right. Yep, I think this looks a lot better. Yep. Cool. So, and then I assume that here it's going to be check mark. Let's see. Too many check marks. Here we go, check mark. Yep, here we go. So this is exactly what we wanted. Yeah, kind of. I mean, we probably have to... Oh yeah, this is... Of course, there are. Oh, look at that. So we do get the nice animation out of the box. That is pretty sweet. I like. Cool stuff. Okay, so let's try this out. I'm gonna go and grab this URL here and then paste this. Okay, something isn't working as expected. What's this? Okay, this doesn't seem to be related to our problem. Oh, did it work in the end? Interesting. So let's try this one more time. Okay. I mean, yep. Okay, so Proxyman is now getting in our way. Let's see. I think we should probably either... Where is the simulator? What is the process of the simulator? I mean, it is called simulator, quite frankly. But it's not listed here. Safari safe browsing. That is probably something different. Yeah. RocketSim is also probably not stealing it. No. Is it Seymour services? No. Okay, so what we can do is we can just turn off Proxyman for a moment here and try this one more time. Nope. Do we still get problems with the certificate? Let's try it one more time. Yeah, there's still problems. Okay, so, but it's Proxyman getting in our way. I mean, I can quit Proxyman and then see if that helps. Yep, it does. Okay. Well, it should show up. It doesn't show up. I don't know. Oh, wait. Maybe that is something going on here. It's still running. Let's look into Firestore. Okay, yeah, so it seems to have, so, the reason is that it didn't decode all of the fields that are necessary. For example, it didn't get the title for some reason. So let's delete this document. Here we go. So it did add it. So it should be here. Oh, okay, here it is. Okay, seems to be an issue with how the elements are sorted. But not a problem for today. Okay, so let's see. What else do I want to try out? Oh yeah, so let's see if we can... I wanted to try out tagging. Okay, so let's go to Foundation Model Framework. And let's look at the WWDC nodes for it. Because they are typically a really good summary of this. So in this application, we use AI in a couple of places. So one of the places is, if we go here, hello. So if we go here, there is this magic wand button. And if I press the magic wand button, then it will go off and call Gemini to ask for a summary of this article. This blog post describes how to use Google's Gemini language model within Xcode 26 beta on macOS 26 beta, and then it explains what the problem is, right? So this is one way how we use AI in this application. The other way how we use it is in this chat thing here, which, by the way, we also need to update to make use of liquid class. And now I can ask a question that pertains to the entire knowledge base. So, for example, we could ask, what is the latest version of Xcode? Thinking. Well, it's thinking for a long time. Okay, something seems to be wrong. Okay, so it seems like this function is not running. Okay. I'm not super well prepared today. I'm really sorry for that. So let's see. Okay. Yeah, so it seems like cannot determine the backend specification. Oh, you know what? That might be the case because we had Proxyman running. Let's try this again. Okay, so the emulator is starting up in the background. Okay, so here it says the function is initialized. And let's go back into our chat and let's start simple. Hello. Thinking? It should answer faster. Callable request verification. Oh, okay. So there's always something, isn't there? Interesting. So it should work. I'm not sure why. But anyways, so that's something that we'll figure out at a later time. This part here, if it works, it basically takes the whole part of it takes the whole database into consideration and then comes back with an answer. So two different ways to use AI, and one thing that I've always wanted to do is whenever the user adds a new artifact, I always wanted to automatically compute the tags for it. So basically look at the code, the source code of the web page, and then derive the most meaningful tags for it. And of course, we want to do this as cheaply as possible. So we'll first try to find where our service is for doing that. So we've got our metadata service. I think that is probably one good place to do that. Also, we can just ask. Nope. All right, so let's start up Proxyman again. Let's see if Xcode recognizes that we're talking to Proxyman. Let's start a new chat. Hello. Okay. I want to automatically tag new artifacts as the user adds them. Looking at the code base, what do you reckon would be a good place to do this? Let's see. So one of the things that I dislike about coding agents is that they often just, really want to get into writing code. So the question is, does Xcode also fall into this trap? Or do we have to say, please, no coding yet, wait for me to tell you when you can start the coding? Okay, based on the metadata service file, and we can, does it jump there? Let's go somewhere else. Let's go here. Nope, doesn't, oh, it does. You need to click at the right point. The ingest from method appears to be the most suitable place to automatically tag new artifacts. This method performs the complete processing of an artifact, including downloading the HTML, extracting various metadata, plain text, and computing the reading time. All this information is aggregated into the artifact metadata struct, which would be ideal for a tagging process to use. You could introduce a new step in the ingest method right before the metadata is returned to call a tagging service or function. Yeah. Okay, I need to search for types related to tagging. Okay, so it searches for tagging service, for tag, tagging function. What does it come back with? Based on the code provided. Add artifact, okay. Update content. It needs to know more, so it searched for tag and tagging service, but we don't have that. Now it tries to understand how an artifact looks like. And then it says, I'll update the artifact. And it wants to add a new set of tags. All right, looks good to me so far. Following the pattern of summarizer service, I create a tagging service. Okay, where's that? Okay, a new file created by username on current date, which it should replace. Okay. Okay. Generate tags from input. Okay, and now it uses the same approach and it uses Vertex AI. Okay. But we want to use the foundation model. Okay. And then it adds this to the add artifact dialog. Generate tags after content is available. Okay. Okay, so instead of using Vertex AI, let's use Apple's new foundation model framework. Let's see what it comes up with. That's a great idea for performance and privacy. So it also knows that we have this tagging service just newly created. Ooh. Okay, so to use Apple's foundation model framework, you would typically use CoreML to run a pre-trained machine learning model on the device. I don't think that we need to do that, to be honest. I think we should be able, well, at least that's what I wanted to try. I wanted to take the full text, pump it into the model, and then ask the model to return whatever is most suitable. Yeah, I think you might be right. Gemini might not have the latest details about, well, the interesting thing is it might not have the latest details about this, but it talks about Apple's on-device foundation model framework, right? So it seems to have some knowledge about it. What we can try is, so first of all, let's take a look at how it should be implemented, right? So guided generation, that is something that we can look into, but snapshot streaming, I'm looking for the most simple use case, literally just generating something. Oh, content tagging adapter. Tag generation, result, like topics. Okay, so this looks like what we might need. Okay, so let's go back and see. I mean, the problem is that this doesn't have Git, so we can't see the changes. Let's go back. No changes, no changes. I was stupid enough to say hello in the beginning, so that is also apparently not a good idea because now the chat is named hello. Can we change that name? No, we can't. Also, what's really interesting, do you notice that this chat, oh, look at that. Okay, so we can switch between the individual turns. That is nice. Okay. Okay, so 8 changes. Well, there are no changes, are there? No changes. Well, that tells us we should always have a repository enabled. So let's try to go to a place where it said it wanted to make a change. So artifact. Let's go into the artifact and see if there is a change, because what I want to do is I just want to, here we go. So there is a change. So this has been implemented. Okay, where are the other changes? So here is a change. And then did it also talk about the service I wanted to update? So, and this is something that, so even though it's just a relatively small change, you can see that it's difficult to navigate it because it's doing stuff across a couple of files, and because I didn't have Git enabled in this folder, it's really difficult for me to find the places where it made all those changes. So on a larger screen, it would be easier. That's one thing. Yeah, okay. So it added this to the to this package here. That's all right, I think. Firebase Vertex AI. So this needs to this import is no longer correct. Okay, so instead of doing it this way, what we're going to do is I'm going to remove, not duplicate this. And then we've got the logger, we've got generate tags, and then we'll just remove all this code here. Or most of it. So removing this, and then we'll need to replace this tag string response tags tag string. Okay, and now we're going to find, okay, so because this is a screenshot we can't copy, so let's go to the video and then we'll copy from there. So here is the code. Okay. Copy. Here we go. So we've got a session. We need to import this. All right. Let's see what it generates. Oh yeah, and we could have tried to link to the session context, right? Add context from project. So it doesn't seem like there is a way to say, hello, Xcode, can you please, take this piece of documentation into consideration. At least I can't see it. So we can attach context from project, we can upload files. I mean, we could potentially, I don't know if Apple has llms.txt for their documentation. So let's try to find out. Apple Foundation Model Framework. Is it this? Yeah, it is. Okay, so now let's see if there is llms.txt. No, there is not. So, but I recall that Peter Steinberg did something around this. So Peter Steinberger, is it Berger or Berg? llms.txt. llms.code. Here we go. Okay. So here is the tool. Let's go one step back. Take this, paste it here. Crawl depth. This looks good. Process documentation. Nope. Okay, so what I'm looking for is llms.txt. So it's kind of a standard, if you will, for providing a single file that contains the entire documentation for a piece of for an SDK, for example, right? So and the reason why this is a good idea is that if you have one file that contains the entire documentation, you can just provide this as context for your large language model, and you don't have to rely on, on the fact that the model has crawled the documentation before. Technically, you can just say, okay, so here is additional context, please use that. Which also makes it easier for the model to actually focus on that content. But it also requires that the model has a relatively large context window. So this seems to be taking quite a while. I would have expected that this has already been crawled. Okay, but it's very thorough. For example, it goes through and even includes the tool calling documentation, so that's good. Anyway, let's go back and try to do it manually, or in conjunction with the model. So we were facing the import problem. Yeah, so now the model doesn't know that we want to use Apple's model. So let's just see, generating content and performing tasks with foundation models. So this is the essentials. System language model.default, create a session. Yeah, I know, but where is the import? Here we go. Okay, import foundation models. Yeah, okay. This is something that we also need to look into. Where is our session? Okay, let's just remove this. I was pretty sure that I had pasted this, right? Oh yeah, I know. When I was talking through the model, it removed the stuff. Okay, so we've got a session. It's only available in iOS 26, so we'll have to update our package definition here. And then we have our prompt, respond to prompt. I know. Then we get let's remove this. Okay. Oh, V26 is unavailable. Why? Oh, maybe because of this. No. Any suggestions from the audience? That is interesting. So why can't I? Okay, let's see. Swift Package Manager iOS 26. Do you think? Okay, let's try V18. Yeah, that's a good point. Oop. Still. Oh. Okay. Nope. I mean, we can do that, but will it help? Okay, cool. So this does not have a text property. Let's look at, so this is still busy. Create a session, create the prompt, generate a response. Okay, so here is a response. Response to prompt options. I'll just assume that response dot content. There we go. And that is a string. And that is guaranteed to not be empty. Nice. Okay, we can fix this ourselves. Okay, so now it's splitting this, and then we can probably, oh wow, look at how it destroyed the code. Nice. So for this, we have public static let shared. Public static let shared equals tagging service. Okay. All right, cool. So, and here we very likely have the same issues. Okay, so this is not visible. Why? It's public. Needs to be imported. Imported tagging. No module. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this compiles for iOS 26. For this one, I don't know. Maybe we can't. No, it's not available. Okay. So I wonder why it can't find the tagging service. So it is here. It can see the metadata service. Maybe it's because of this. Yeah. Yeah, the dependency should be set up. Okay. All right. So, so this is compiling metadata UI is compiling for 17. No, I told you to compile for 18. But failed. So metadata service has a minimum dependency target of 18. So this has 18. This also has 18. Let's just clean and recompile. Okay, so yeah. Wipe the derived data. Yeah, that might be the worst case scenario. So let's see. Maybe, yeah. I'm thinking you might be right. All right, let's try this one more time. What? Wow. Ooh. Okay, so let's see. Okay. All right, Lars, let's try this. All right, let's first get the packages, and then I'll try Lars's trick. Let's see if that works. Thanks for sticking around, guys. Really appreciate it. Okay, so the packages are here. That is good. Preparing editor functionality. Let's see. Let's do a compile and then. Thanks, Lars. All right. In the meantime, we can go to the package. So iOS 26.0. Okay. And then okay. We'll probably have to do this for all the packages, I am guessing. Also, did I mention that I got my M4 machine approved, but we're still waiting for delivery. I have no idea. We're using some sort of vendor to get this over to us, and I've been waiting for, I've done the maths today, so I've been waiting for 68 days now for this machine. You know, I've told them I could have gone to the Apple store and bought this myself, and it would have taken just a few days. But we have our official vendors for this kind of stuff. So metadata service, utilities. I'm just hoping that the string is correct, Lars. I'm trusting you. Not sure if I need to update the Swift Tools version as well, but let's just do it. Oh, not new. Come on, B. So, fingers crossed. Okay. What? Oh, okay. So, what? We're here. Let's compile this for 26. Also, I mean, we can use those emojis here. What I'm really missing is the snooze emoji. So then you have to wait for the compiler. All right, and this one we'll just remove and then let's try again. Build succeeded, yoo-hoo! Nice. Now let's run. I have no idea did anybody pay attention to if we actually call this code. So tagging service, I think we did call it from somewhere, right? So show callers, here's our caller. All right. So this is an update content. Cool. Oh, this is finished now. Nice. We can have a look at that in a moment. Let's go and take my own article. Oh no! No observable object. Okay. Well, you know, the joys of using the environment. Let's see. So we need to go into the application. Oh, did you notice that they're now displaying this this end comment here? What's this? Ooh, interesting. Anyways, so where is, yeah, it's not added. All right. Yeah. Bar tagging service is of type tagging service. Oh, we can probably say equals tagging service dot shared, and then we can just inject it into the environment. Let's do it. All right, so oh, yep, of course, because now Proxyman is getting in our way. I'll need to better learn how to use Proxyman. For example, in Carlo's blog post, he said you can set up an application level script for Xcode. And I wasn't able to figure out how to implement an application level script. It seemed to me that the script is global. So maybe it's possible, maybe it's not. I would sure hope that it's possible. Hello. Okay, well, here we go. Okay, so it did something, but I don't know if it actually invoked the tagging service. Let's go back here. Well, okay, so update content, where is that called? Show callers. Oh, it's called. Okay, so let's try this. I mean, this is not in the right place, but it should be invoked when we do this. Okay, so we get the texts. Tagging service dot generate tag. Well, and there was a problem apparently. And what was the problem? Underlying what? Underlying connection interrupted. That is interesting. Well, what we'll do is, well, we did await this, right? Okay, so let's go in here. And then do this and just try it one more time. So we're setting up the session. We're telling it to respond to our prompt, and it fails. That is interesting. Okay. Okay, so we can you can provide instructions, which we don't. Let's see. Hello, Siri. So what I suspect is that maybe on this device we can't use Siri. Yeah, my main phone just reacted to it. Okay, so let's see. Ready for Apple Intelligence. I mean, it should work, right? Let's try this again. Let's have a look. And unfortunately, I don't have iOS 26 running on any physical device, so it is pretty much impossible to test this on a physical device at the moment. Let's try this one more time and then take the error message and try to figure out what is the problem. And maybe the answer is we'll have to look at this next time. Maybe when there is a new beta and I feel more confident installing this on my main device. Okay, so here is the entire text of my blog posts. And now let's start the session. Let it respond. And boom. Ooh, interesting. Attempting to send message using a cancelled session. Okay, Apple Intelligence Foundation Model Framework. That much I got. Each session can only handle one request at a time. Yeah, man, I don't know. I mean, we can try, but I don't think that this is what the issue is. Ooh. Okay, so if not, session is responding. Let's return an empty set. And let's try again. I don't think that this is the issue, but maybe it is. All right. Hello. Let's add something. Oh. Should take a real URL probably. Yep, nope, it doesn't work. Okay, so what else do we have? Let's see if they handle any errors. So this is for streaming. Nope. There is nothing else. Ooh. Okay, maybe let's try this. I mean, you never know if it's just a case of bad API service. Check the 3 most important concepts. What about concepts? All right, come on. Here we go. Here's the URL. And let's try tagging. Content tagging. Respond to prompt. And nope. Okay. So I've got one more idea what we can try. So show coding tools, and let's try to create a playground. Well, let's try again. Create a playground. Nope. Okay, all right. Okay, so show me the playground. Here it is. Okay, so no. So I haven't tried playgrounds before. How do they work? Let's just ask. How can I run the code in an Xcode 26 playground? $26, not 226. Oh. But where is... well, let's undo this, please. Okay, so no... Hello, I said, let's undo this. Okay, so it said something about a play button. I can't see a play button. Xcode 26 playgrounds. Oh wait, shouldn't it do the thing automatically? Value history mode. playground.
To the end of the line, new line, new line.
Okay, so this is...
As with previews, you can add a playground inline in your document, and the results of the code execution will appear in their own Canvas tab. Let me show you a demo. I've noticed a bug in the Landmarks app where landmarks are showing up in the wrong place on the map. I'm going to use a playground to poke around at the landmark struct and see if I can figure out what's going on. I just have one, which is the landmark structure for the Grand Canyon, and I can see the values for each of its properties. Some of the property types have a quick... In the canvas, I see an entry for each expression.
Okay, so it just appeared. How? Okay, am I holding it wrong? Okay, so here's the canvas. Okay. All right, so let's see. I mean, this is not a SwiftUI struct. So hopefully what it will do is somehow spin up whatever a canvas looks like for a playground. Let's see. Okay, simulator is starting up. Oh, here we go. Okay, so we see the text here. Then we have the tag, the task. All right, and now instead of doing this, what we're gonna do is, I mean, why does it do that? Didn't I say, you know, please? Well, anyways, so where is my session? So I'm just gonna do this. No. Okay, so we get a session. And we'll just do this. Or we'll just use a plain session. Let's do it as simple as possible, right? So and then we'll delete this line. Okay. Nothing happened, apparently. Well, that is a bit disappointing. Also, is there a way to force it to redo this? I mean, this way probably. Yeah, but nothing's happening. Okay, so one last thing, and then I think we'll call it a day. So let me just create a new project. Foundation model demo. And then we'll just put it here. And then let's take the code from the very beginning. Oh wait, let's create a new empty Swift file. New, where is new file? New file from template. Well, we could do a new file from clipboard. Oh. Foundation model demo .swift. Cannot preview this file because why? What? It's part of what on earth? Could not find target description, but why? It is in the target membership. Okay. Let's just put it here. And then import it here. And then let's just hope for the best, shall we? Here we go. So, oh, all right. It does seem to work. Okay. So, first of all, good news is apparently it does work. Second of all, we've been streaming for, I don't know, for a long time now. We started 2 hours ago, and this is really long. So I don't want to keep you. Also, I need to travel to Berlin early in the morning for I/O Connect. So I'm going to call it a day, and I will, let me quickly check when we can do the next one, so I can tell you. So there is going to be a live stream on Thursday, but it's a Firebase After Hours live stream. So you're more than welcome to join that one. And we're going to look into Firebase app hosting with one of our DevRel people working on that project. And the next live stream for this one here is going to be next Tuesday, July the 1st. So I'm going to figure out what is the problem until next time, and then we're going to look into this in more detail, also clean up the code, because I have the impression that there is a big old mess going on and I'm not very happy about it. So this is definitely something that we need to fix next time. To everybody who's stick with me until now, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Also, thanks so much for the great conversation and all, for the help, for all the good tips and tricks. I learned something. I hope you also learned something, or at least it was fun to watch. And next time, I promise, well, I can't promise. I was about to promise no technical issues. I would like to promise no technical issues, but who knows? I have very little, not much control over it. Anyways, thanks for watching. I will see you next Tuesday. Have a great rest of your day wherever you are on this planet.